But super busy never made the Avengers, right?
That is fantastic. You're in the right podcast for that kind of joke. Well done. So, this busyness, it's in the way of proper brain function. It's in the way of creativity. What else is it in the way of?
Rest and recovery, nutrition, having good relationships with your friends and your family and your peers. My God, I mean, the amount of times potentially I've heard people have arguments with their partner. This is one true story. I had a client, he was so busy every day and night into the weekends, his wife said to him, don't bother coming to bed if you're still logged on in 5 minutes.
Did he log off?
Oh yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
Just checking.
It's so easy, and to an element it's lazy to just carry on working. The hard thing is to stop. The hard thing is to have that discipline to go, what's the most important thing I need to do today? Once I do that, the rest maybe is not as important and can maybe I'll get there when I get there.
This episode is brought to you by Instant Impact. Instant Impact provides transformative talent solutions to small and mid-sized companies that are making between 30 and 500 hires each year. If your recruitment's giving you a headache and you don't know where to start, then give the team at Instant Impact a call or visit www.instant-impact.com for more information.
Hello and welcome to We Need to Talk About HR. I'm your host, Felix Mitchell. How many times have you started a conversation by asking someone how they are and they respond, busy? It's gotta be my least favourite way to start a conversation, but I'm guilty of doing it myself all the time, and I think it's become a bit of a default answer. As if being constantly occupied is some form of sign of your own importance and success. Now, my guest today thinks that we've got it completely wrong. Chris Lovett is a leadership coach who works with C-level execs from all sorts of organizations, from NatWest all the way through to not-for-profits. He's a TEDx speaker, a published author, not once, but soon to be twice. He's passionate about burnout, and not actually burning out, but avoiding burnout, and work-life balance, and he's here to talk about something that he calls corporate minimalism. The idea? Being less busy doesn't make you less ambitious or less successful, might actually mean the opposite. Chris, welcome to the show.
Wow, what an intro. Felix, can I get you to do that in every kind of scenario that I go into? Is that
Just
okay?
be your herald.
Can I just hire you, just those like 90 seconds, and then you can leave after that?
Absolutely. Well, I think these days with the AI, I could probably give you like a little avatar.
Yeah,
that starts.
Perfect. That will work lovely.
Cool. There you go. It's a new service line that I didn't know that we'd have on the podcast. But listen, man, you got to tell us why do we all feel so busy?
Oh, yeah, it's madness, isn't it? Yeah, like the world is chaos, and obviously work is part of the world, and we just seem to be living in this constant stream of consumption, of chaos, just absolute madness, and that becomes normal quite quickly, and therefore we go into work, and like you alluded to in the intro, when we maybe finish work and we speak to our partners or our family and we go, how was your day? Oh, it was just madness. And like, oh, so what did you do? Well, I was in Zoom meetings all day. Just like we're talking about the work rather than doing the work. And yeah, I responded to some emails though, but that took 6 hours. So we're doing a lot of stuff, and my challenge in today's kind of modern work in a post-COVID world is that we're doing a lot of stuff that doesn't really add that much value. And actually a lot of the stuff we're doing probably makes us way more busy than we need to be. So I started looking into how I was working in a corporate setup and how other teams were working, and every time I was talking to people they were saying, yeah, I'm stacked, or some variation of that. And it was just crazy because I just stopped doing a few little bits and pieces, maybe declined a few meetings here and there, didn't respond to emails within 5 minutes, and magically I got a little bit of time back. And people were like, what's he doing? Why has he got that much time? And still delivering at a high level. And it was literally just removing some of the waste from my work.
It's interesting that you started explaining it less from the the work that you're doing perspective and more from like a societal norms perspective. And you threw the C-bomb in, which we have.
Consumption.
COVID,
COVID,
actually.
yeah.
Well, consumption as much as C-bombs all over the place. Do you think that this is a culture thing, or do you think that it's the nature of work?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think COVID has amplified some of the stuff that we are doing. So where we were before COVID, we had a commute. So maybe from 7:30 to 8:30, you were commuting to an office. Now we are commuting from the bedroom maybe to the downstairs kitchen. And where we had that hour of maybe couldn't log on, or the only thing we had access to was maybe flicking through emails, now we are actually starting work. And then you add that on at the end, your work day becomes probably, I think from what I last saw, was about 25% longer.
Is that right?
Yeah. So that's you're already starting there. And then you throw in downsizing of organisations, and not necessarily downsizing of things to do. You remove your lunch break. So your lunch break, which is contracted probably an hour, we're now going to go 30 minutes. Or if we can do a quick snack whilst we're on a Zoom call or doing something else, that's great. So therefore the working day has become a lot longer. But I do challenge, like, what we're doing. Like, if you can't get your work done in your allotted hours, maybe it's a time management problem. But we just love being busy. There's a lot of us that will just use it as a bit of a kind of social status. Like we alluded to earlier, how are you getting on? Busy. Oh, how are you? Well, I'm super busy.
Yeah,
And
I win.
Exactly, I win. I win this unspoken social contest, but super busy never made the Avengers, right?
That is fantastic. You're in the right podcast for that kind of joke. Well done.
Thanks, man.
I'm really interested because I think this kind of thinking, how do I free up time? How do I get a bit back for myself? How do I, what's a work-life balance? All of these sorts of things. It all makes sense on a human level. I'm really interested in how it interplays with the kinds of people that you support professionally, who are C-suite at NatWest, right? I would imagine that if you're telling them to take an hour lunch break, not working with the team, and chill out on the commute and do X, Y, and Z, I'd imagine their immediate sense is one of a little bit of pushback. Like, how does this work with super high performers?
Yeah, again, it's a great question, and yes, you're exactly right. I do get the looks like, this guy's talking shit. Like, what does he know? But generally, a lot of C-suite, a lot of senior leaders and high performers, they want to reach another level of performance. So let's use elite athletes for an example, right? If you're a sprinter at elite level, you don't sprint all day. You sprint, then you stop. You rest, recover, maybe get a little massage. You look back over your times, your start, your middle, your finish. You analyse, and then you go again, right? So there's constant breaks. Elite footballers, any elite sports have rest and recovery in their daily plan. Sleep. I remember when Gareth Bale went to Real Madrid, they hired a sleep coach.
Did they really?
Because it helped him recover from those tiny little muscle injuries that he used to get and miss a game every 3 or 4 games he'd miss a game. So they hired a sleep coach, right? Not an extra physio, and they changed his sleep. He got better rest, which meant his body recovered quicker, so he could perform at an optimal level. And it's the same concept in a corporate or in a work setting where we're not set out to work 12, 13, 14 hours a day. Like, the brain just doesn't work like that, right? So we need to rest, we need to recover. And actually, for high optimal performance, you need to have a little bit of variance in how you operate in your day. So a prime example, and I go into these teams and I basically say, right, I'm going to give you some new information. It's up to you how you want to make new rules, okay? So here's an example. Back-to-back meetings is probably a no-go, because Microsoft did a study that said if you even went to 4 back-to-back meetings without any breaks, the stress on the brain increases to such a level that it starts to impact your ability to engage and your attention drops. So if you're a decision maker that's making big decisions all day long and you're in back-to-back meetings, probably by about 2:30, 3 o'clock, your engagement and decision making is really flawed.
It's so interesting.
That, in my eyes, is not high performer, right? If you have what I call calendar Tetris, where you have stacks on stacks of stuff going on in your calendar, it's chaos. You're supposed to be a role model. You're supposed to be a trusted source, a leader that basically has their shit together, right? So it looks like chaos. So back-to-back meetings, which I then present this information, is a no-go. That's why Microsoft changed their Outlook times so you could start 5 minutes later and finish 5 minutes earlier. They changed their default settings based on that study on the brain. And then guess what we do? We just change it back to finish and start on the hour. Getting bored is generally seen as a bad thing. We want to avoid boredom because our brain is always looking for these new bits of information. But boredom is sometimes where your most creative ideas come from. And so I would encourage people to stop working if they're looking for the great idea and get bored instead. But again, if you try and sell that to someone in the seat, they go, well, no. But actually, so again, the study says, and the research says, if you get bored, you're more likely to come up with a great idea. J.K. Rowling's a prime example. Whatever you think of her, she came up with Hogwarts and Harry Potter whilst bored on the train. Eric Clapton wrote Wonderful Tonight whilst he was bored in a hotel room. Keith Richards wrote Satisfaction whilst he was bored in a hotel room. Right, so these huge pieces of creative art have come from whilst people have been bored.
I think Bill Gates used to go for a half-hour walk every day specifically to get the room to think. And if I'm wrong about Bill Gates, just substitute very successful tech billionaire. One of them definitely did it. It's really interesting because so a couple of things from my world that really resonate with what you're saying. So first of all, back-to-back interviews.
Yeah.
Your judgment is likely to get worse for each consecutive interview you run. Yeah. Hence the importance of structured interviews, folks. And the other piece is I would say, a good 40% of my best ideas when I'm running with no music. So I hear you.
Well, that's it, right? And there's that prime example, Felix, that running one. I had a senior leader who I was coaching, and that was the first thing to go. So the meetings went in, and I was like, so what are your hobbies? Where do you take your time out? And she was like, I love running, but I haven't run this week. And I was like, but that's part of your high performance. That's how you get your ideas. And she went, yeah, but it's been replaced because I've been invited to meetings instead. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, we got it the wrong way round. Like, surely you should protect that precious time when you're creating all of these ideas, and then maybe just not go to one of the meetings where you maybe don't contribute as much. You know, the trade-off is, when we set it that way, the trade-off's pretty simple.
All right, cool. So there's busyness. It's in the way of proper brain function. Yeah. It's in the way of creativity. Yeah. What else is it in the way of?
Rest and recovery, nutrition, having good relationships with your friends and your family and your peers. My God, I mean, the amount of times potentially I've heard people have arguments with their partner. This is one true story. Well, I had a client who, he was so busy every day and night into the weekends, his wife said to him, don't bother coming to bed if you're still logged on in 5 minutes. You can do it with the same around holiday season, right? So we're in holiday season.
Did he log off?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Just checking.
So holiday season, again, there has been adverts from British Airways. You might remember last year, I think it was 2014. Basically, I can't remember who did it. Charlotte Weston, there you go. Charlotte Weston is the actress on that advert who says, don't log on, don't work, it's killing you. So the science says, not logging off from work whilst you're on holiday increases your stress and you're not able to reduce the cortisol through your body, it's killing you sooner. And yeah, the science backs it up as well. So when you have breaks, have a break, like literally just detach
Just get on Instagram,
just
right?
get on, just consume something else. Read my first book, who knows? But yeah, it's like you have to kind of have that discipline, and that's the bit now where I'm trying to reframe high performance. It's so easy, and to an element, it's lazy to just carry on working because it's really easy to do. The hard thing is to stop. The hard thing is to have that discipline to go, what's the most important thing I need to do today? And once I do that, the rest maybe is not as important and can maybe I'll get there when I get there.
I tell you what, it's scary. It is scary. One of the things that, man, I'm feeling really guilty talking to you right now because I used to be actually really good. No Teams Tuesday was...
I like it.
It was, well, I wish I coined it myself, but it was my fantastic EA, Danielle. Shout out, Danielle. Sadly, No Teams Tuesday has been intruded on, but this is inspiring me to start putting the walls on NTT back up again. But the first time I saw that blank calendar in front of me, the overriding feeling I had was fear, followed very closely by guilt.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing, like honestly, super. At the end of it, I trusted the process, as you say, super productive, super creative day. Right, let's get on to the solve.
Yes.
We know that this busyness is killing us.
Yeah.
It's sapping our businesses.
Yeah.
No bueno. What are we doing about it?
Well, yeah, what do we do about it? So again, we're in a time now where there's an ability to create new rules. So we've got a lot of cultural conditioning from, let's say, pre-COVID times where we had set agendas. We used to work from 9 to 5. We used to be in an office. Now it's different, right? So we've got an ability to create some new rules to create a bit more optimal performance. So I'll throw some numbers and some stats out there that might help people to reevaluate how they design their day or their week or their strategy for this year, right? So a minimum of a third of all meetings are useless, right?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Exactly. And some people go, oh, is that it? So that's just the minimum. There's probably about a dozen or so different research panels that have asked various knowledge workers around the world in various different industries around meetings. So meetings tend to drain the life out of strategy, out of people. So now that people know that a third of them are probably useless, at least a third, what do you want to do about it? So you can do from an individual perspective, you can have a look at your calendar and go, what are the meetings that I need to go to that are going to move the needle, that are part of my objectives, and what are the ones that are not so much? And then maybe you can decline a couple, right? This is what tends to happen when people feel guilty or they feel scared or worried that reputation might be damaged, is you do something very small that no one will notice. So you could leave a meeting slightly earlier. You say, Felix, I've got to shoot off, I can only attend for 30 minutes today, is that okay? Yeah, no problem. And it's forgotten about. So you get the extra time back to do whatever you like, right? Work on something that's really important. You do that a couple of times a week, you get a bit of time back, the time to work on the most important things. From a strategy and from a team perspective, you create new rules. Right, no teams on Tuesday, and just do it for a month and see what happens. See what balls have dropped or see what you've managed to complete based on that. So there's other organisations that have done some basically company-wide policies where they've like, we don't want more than 4 people at a meeting. If there's more than 4 people invited to a meeting, you have permission to decline. There's others where they do no meetings on Friday. Once they have a cull of all meetings for a month. So there's loads of different companies that are trying different things. I guess the impetus for you, for the listeners, as senior members of staff, is try some stuff. We're still using archaic, outdated, relic type of working models in a post-pandemic, shifting, agile, flexible working approach. So there's space right now to create a new normal, right? Do you remember that we used to, a new normal? We heard that term for
Don't bring that back, man, please.
Oh, yeah, so right, no
Veto.
more new
Veto.
rules. Veto that one. All right.
Let me ask you though. Let's throw a practical example in because it's on my mind.
Yeah.
We do a all instant impact. We do an all company meeting on a Friday to kind of go through, like, give a bit of a shout out. And we're looking to push some new life into that. So we're thinking about what we can do. We're thinking about what numbers we share. We do all the rest of it. For business leaders, then, and the main purposes of that meeting. I'm getting some free consulting in here, so this is good. But like, see it in practice, people. We want to share. We want to be transparent with the organisation, and we want to highlight some really just people who are doing a great job.
Yep.
And we want to make sure that we're fostering a feeling of community. Are we? And I know this is like how long is a piece of string, but I suppose just listening to you talk, I'm thinking, well, maybe we've just jumped to the assumption that it needs to be a meeting. Maybe there are other ways of skinning that cat. Mm. How would you approach that sort of, if not, I'm not asking you what we should do, but what are some of the other things we should consider?
Ask your talent.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of leaders I work with, they do tend to have this initial kind of default settings. What is it that I need to do? What decisions do I need to make? And actually the answers are probably already in the team. They'll tell you what they feel is the best approach. And it might be you do it every other week, or once every other month, or 6 weeks, or whatever. Just try some stuff. We're in a really good kind of experimental phase at the moment where, you know what, if it doesn't work, fucking go back and do it the way it was before.
Yeah.
Like, you won't lose much, right? But you'll gain a load more data, and that ability to role model that experimental kind of mindset of, you know what we're going to do? We're going to try something, and I'm going to try not go into meetings every day. And I'll tell you another quick case study, another true story of a client of mine who, let's say, was very traditional, very very old school in thinking, and we had a one-to-one session, and he said, "Chris, I ain't got time. I just don't have time for this." I went, "Cool, so is time your challenge?" And he went, "Yeah, look at my calendar." See how he was very forward in telling me how busy he was, right? And I said, "Do you need to be in all of these meetings?" And he went, "Yep." I went, "What, really? What, even like if you're on holiday or off sick, do they still happen?" And he went, "Well, no, I send a deputy, but it's very rare. I have to go to all these meetings because I'm the decision maker and I'm this." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do an experiment. What would happen if you just declined all of this week's meetings?" And he went, "Well, I don't know, probably wouldn't go ahead." I was like, "Oh, is that important?" Right. So he declined all these meetings because we would basically just have a little bit of a bet, see what happened. So he had 20 meetings. Out of those 20 meetings that he was invited to, only one came back to say that we really need you there for this week. One. So he saved about between 50 and 20 hours that week, right? Just doing that one tiny experiment. And so the complaint of "I don't have time" was removed immediately. So what would happen is he would then role model that to his team, and he said, "I've just tried this thing, and look how much time I've got back. I can now work on the most important things." And he gave that role modeling that permission to the rest of his team. Gave his other team members exposure to the senior leaders that they wouldn't have had exposure to because he kept filling the gaps in the meeting every time. So now he goes every other week, and his team members go every other week. So they all get an opportunity to get exposure and increase their personal brand. Amazing kind of all-round good news story, just by one tiny reframe. That's all it took.
That's very cool. And I really like something that keeps coming up from you is just playing around with it and just experimenting and having that experimental mindset.
Yeah,
is probably really powerful when you're dealing with particularly large organisations, old organisations, but I guess anyone where you've got your kind of legacy, your tradition of, this is the way it works, this is the way it has to work, because if I'm not here, then nothing will happen. But actually, if you experiment with it, you're going to find out what the real what the reality is, right?
Yeah, that's it. There's obviously layers of psychology in all of this around, trust, belonging, identity with our job titles and all that stuff. But yeah, there definitely is a certain element of we as individual contributors, as leaders, business owners, we need to have a bit more control over our own time, because it's the only thing we've all got. I mean, it's the most important thing, time and attention. But yet, we have almost given up control, and we're letting other people's kind of small agendas infiltrate our time. We're not great on boundary setting. We find it very, very tricky as Brits to say no. So we're very agreeable. So we will tend to not necessarily ask more questions, especially to people in power. So people who have status, or maybe our bosses, for example, who say to us, "Oh, I really need this done today," and we go, "Oh, okay." We don't ask why it's so urgent.
Yeah.
We tend to just trust that that person who is in a position of power has more knowledge than us, maybe more skill than us. But actually, if we say, "Well, hold on, the 15 things you gave me yesterday, I'm still working on those. So out of those 15 things, which of those now is less important?" So it actually puts the onus into more of a conversation. Because a lot of people don't necessarily know how long things take, so they just keep throwing stuff at you.
Yeah, and often, give deadlines that are pretty arbitrary just because you're asked about it. When do you want it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like 24 hours?
Exactly. Well, I'm going on holiday next week, so if you get it done before then, that'd be great. That's not real.
It's not that helpful, yeah.
That's not helpful. That's actually happened. In the corporations that I've been working with, that has actually happened, where leaders have sent their whole team off over the weekend and said, "We need this done because such and such said it was really important." And then they went off on holiday and they never responded anyway. And it was just that kind of default settings that we've all got through years of conditioning, through certain cultures. Now there's opportunities of idiots like me who have found a different way of succeeding by doing less, to kind of just nudge people and kind of go, just give something a try. Just stop doing something for a little bit and see what happens. That's it.
Okay, cool. So we're going on. So tool number 1, experiment with your meetings, try and free up some time that way. Tool number 2, say challenge the status quo when you're being given work to do or when deadlines are being set. Tool number 3, ruthlessly prioritize.
Brilliant. There we go. We smashed it.
That's summed it up. Am I missing?
Yeah, that's literally it. I mean, that's literally it. Ruthless prioritization is great. I love to throw in this thing called strategic laziness.
Yes. Come on.
Where you utilize your rest and recovery as part of your strategy of high performance. And again, going back to what we were saying earlier about going out for a walk, you'll get your best ideas, or going out for a run. There's also, again, I'm not sure whether we'll get this done in Brits, in our corporate settings, but napping, right? So you might remember a term called sleeping on the job.
Oh yeah.
Lazy. How dare you, right? But again, the latest science and studies show that a cheeky little afternoon nap, exactly, that's where that came from, actually enhances your attention and memory, especially after you've done a bit of learning. So say if you've been on a course for a couple of hours, a nap shortly after that will embed that learning a lot quicker rather than if you just went to another meeting. Now, I'm not condoning that you go ahead and do all of that. I'm just saying it's an option, all right? And that's where we should be thinking. And I've done it a few times where you don't have to advertise it. You don't have to don't put it in your calendar and say nap time, right? Just, log off for a bit. No one needs to know where you are. Just have a little cheeky nap. Even in Japan, it's seen as loyalty. It's seen as loyalty to the organisation if you're sleeping on the job. And again, if you kind of reframe it as I'm looking for my optimal performance, having a little cheeky 20-minute nap can enhance your ability to...
You know what, man? I'm a napper.
I was going to say, don't fall asleep just now, but...
I love it. Honestly, particularly, we were talking about before, we've got two young kids, but I think a lot of the audience have young kids. as well. Everyone knows how, like, it just ruins your day if you haven't had a good night's sleep, or like 3-4 bad night's sleep in a row. And I think when it was particularly bad last year, I just decided, actually, you know what, if I'm really tired, I'll take like a 2:30 to 3 o'clock nap.
Great.
And suddenly, far from, I think the equation was really clear in my mind. It was basically either I'm going to be at 30% productivity for this whole afternoon, or I'll sleep for a bit and then be at normal productivity, which is like 50%. No. But then I'll be like really functioning in the rest of the day. So I think that when you're pushed to extremes, I actually think sometimes the healthy way of working that you're talking about just becomes necessary, right?
Yeah.
Even just to get through the day.
And that's a bit like at the moment we are probably a workforce that is close to burning out. There's a big percentage around. It's about 88% of knowledge workers in the last 2 years have felt some level of burnout. That's the last lot of stats, which is huge, right? Some level of exhaustion or mental capacity is like really, people are just knackered. People are just exhausted, right? So there is a choice. You can either make these decisions once you get exhausted, and you have almost like, it is a necessity. I have to have a sleep. I can't do it. Or you just bring these decisions a bit earlier into your strategy and into your performance, and you just implement them now, right? The interesting thing, again, this is different from how we've been brought up. If we have a health issue, we won't do anything about it until a doctor tells us to do something about it because it's really bad, right?
That's true.
So if we are, we've got to pay. I've got a bit of a shoulder problem at the moment, right? Am I going to do anything? I've got a appointment on Friday. Have I done anything about it? No, of course I haven't, right? Until someone tells me.
You don't know it's really injured.
Exactly, yeah. Until someone tells me that it's really, really bad and you need to do something about it. Until I get, a diagnosis, then I will do something. So all it is just bringing that diagnosis forward a little bit and using it as your strategy, and ultimately like simplifying. If you can simplify and just do the most important things and do them exceptionally well, that'll be your competitive advantage, I think, moving forwards, where you can do anything but you can't do everything. Organisation downsizing, like I'm saying, downsizing with not downsizing of tasks, but downsizing of people and things like that. So we've all got loads to do. So if you can simplify, that might be your competitive advantage.
I love it. Chris, I don't want to finish this without you telling us a little bit about book one and maybe even book two. Let's start with number one.
Yeah, thank you, mate. So the story goes, like the origin story, we were talking about like superheroes. So,
super busy.
Yeah, right. The origin story was basically I stepped on an empty CD case in 2017. That CD in question was Mark Morrison, Return of the Mac. And it made me do a bit of a Basil Fawlty moment where I just lost my shit. And I realised that I had hoarded a load of stuff over my adult years. CDs, DVDs, clothes, tech, all sorts. My flat in South London was full of stuff. And then it was now causing me physical pain. So I was like, I wanted to do these things in life, like go travelling, change my career, things like that. But my job was too stressful. I didn't have any money. In fact, I was in loads of debt. So life had happened to me rather than me creating and crafting my own life. Long story short, I basically sold everything I ever had. I sold all of my, all of the contents in my home. I sold my home, I quit my job, sold my car, and I went backpacking around the world for about 9 months. So I had nothing apart from a few bits of clothes in my bag, bit of tech, bit of cash, and passport, and off I went. And I had all these incredible life-changing experiences, and it had nothing to do with the career, nothing to do with the stuff I bought, consumed, and hoarded all these years. So I came back and I had this minimalist mindset, this whole less is more approach to life. And people would ask me about it. And I said, oh, do you know that there is really enriching feelings in decluttering? Now, you get a little bit of money for stuff you might sell, but also you get a little bit of a reverse helper's hire. Because you're giving stuff to someone that you don't need anymore, and someone might not be able to afford you, give stuff to charity, etc. So people would look around their house, right? As I'm going around their house, and people would look around and go, oh shit, I ain't read their books. I'm never going to read them, but I keep them. So they crafted their own living space with stuff. One person said to me, you should write a book about this, and I basically told them to fuck off, because I'd failed English. I wasn't a writer or anything, and they said, oh, it's really interesting, you should write articles. And I wrote some articles, and they got a little bit of traction, so I wrote a book. And the book became a bestseller on Amazon, right, weirdly, within the first kind of week.
That's awesome.
And then people would message me about their clutter. And it originally started off with like our physical possessions that we have in our home. And then it was our mental clutter, the stories that we replay and our narratives that I can't do this, I'm not good at that keep us kind of in that, safe zone. Then it was digital clutter, all the emails we're subscribed to, all the apps we have on our phone, that was taking our attention away, and it kind of just grew from there. Then I got asked to do a TEDx talk, and I went and did that, and standing on a circular red bit of carpet and sharing your ideas was a fabulous experience. But so Discovery of Less, the book, was born in 2021, just after COVID. And it's still out now for people who want a little bit of support in decluttering their life, and hopefully using a little bit of a minimalist mindset to embrace the less is more approach.
And folks, you'll be able to find it in the notes section of the podcast.
Amazing, yeah. And so then book two.
Number two.
So probably hear it here first. Book two is called Relentless. Less at the end, see?
Relentless, I like it.
Relentless. So it's almost like a minimalist rebellion to how we're so consumed with work. It's less busy, more impact, and I've created the book so it's actually less words and less pages than your average business book.
Amazing.
Because like yourself, Felix, we're struggling for time. People don't have the energy all the time to sit and read like a 100,000 word manifesto on how to redesign your working life, right? So it's less. And it's basically just like really interesting anecdotes, case studies, real life stories that a few I've shared today about how you can use that less is more mindset to make your working life a bit more sustainable, and how senior leaders and business owners can make their organisations more sustainable and use that kind of simplicity approach as a competitive advantage. Plus it's got, a little bit of Cockney charm in there.
We'd expect nothing less.
Exactly, right. And so it's a nice bit of fresh agitation, disruption against our kind of horrible working hours at the moment. So hopefully it's really good for individuals as it is for organisations. So that will come out in spring 2026.
Fantastic. Well, listen, that's all we've got time for, but this has been a fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for joining us.
Mate, my pleasure.